Before we get too far into the agenda, I would just like to read into the record the open meeting law, which is as follows. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or visual recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. And with that, clerk, please call the roll.
Council Freeman.
Present.
Council Bowman.
Present.
Council Finn.
Present.
Council Harris.
Present.
Council Hughes. Council LaForest. Council Leeang. Present. Council Calhoun. Chairman Cole.
Present.
That's it.
We indeed have a forum. And again, I want to just take a moment to thank the public for attending here this evening and weighing in as we go through the agenda. Before we get to the public comment piece, we do have an item preceding that, which is Council Order 2017-035, which is appropriation for $3,624,000 for purchase and installation of LED street lighting. The body was giving a preview several council meetings back. However, we do have the gentleman from Siemens who I believe is going to show himself to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Quincy. I'm from Siemens, and as was just mentioned, I was here before the council back on March 6th, I believe. I do not have a formal presentation prepared, but I did intend to come back and answer any follow-up questions that you might have.
The slide deck was disseminated last Thursday to the council, so that's just obviously what was presented to us in a meeting prior to this one. So I don't know if anyone wants to open up with any questions, but Clint is here and recognize Councilor Finn.
Thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it. And again, one of the things that was really incredibly interesting, and I wish we had it the other night, is the retrofit. It's dated March 6, 2017. We actually got that, I think, this morning. After this. Am I wrong with that? I don't know. And nothing describes what you're trying to do better than this, and I just find it rather unfortunate. Again, I'm sure it's not your responsibility. Again, I think this is one of those things that allow information. It's again, at the end of the day, it's a kind of complex proposal, right? And it's not necessarily easy to understand per se. And to get this late, I was this close to thinking, geez, maybe I should make a motion to table it to make this point. But again, I did have some time to read it, and that's generated some questions. And just for the benefit of understanding it better, you're here, and we're here, I just really want to walk through a few things. First, let's start with the so-called guaranteed maximum cost. The maximum cost is about, what, $3.6 million that we're talking about, right?
Yes.
And one of the questions that first and foremost that I have to ask in terms of the relationship that we enter into this, are there any contingencies that could affect or increase that cost to the city? Or to the taxpayers, I should say.
That cost already contains a 10% contingency, so there's about $330,000 within that $3.6 million that is intended to cover the primary thing that I would expect it to cover would be places where we need police details to successfully, safely change out the streetlight fixtures.
So the police details haven't necessarily been worked into the budget, they've just been covered under a contingency fund?
Correct, they're within that 10%, that $330,000.
Okay, I get that, I think. But that wasn't factored into the budget per se.
That is factored into the appropriations request as well as all of the payback analyses that we described.
You said, but I thought you just said within the contingency fee, it's not a separate line per se.
It is a separate line.
Okay, all right. Do we have a copy of that, as that's laid out?
There's a pay item schedule for the contract that has that line item in it.
Great. Terrific.
Yes, that's, I see you have the correct document in front of you.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. Then the other question would just be, are there any costs outside that maximum guaranteed maximum cost that are contained within the contract at all, aside from that?
No, the audit and engineering work that we've done today is included in all of those unit item prices. So again, the major cost that comes out of contingency, typically for all the other projects we've done, is the cost of police details. And those are typically just required on the main streets in the city, not on dead ends or the side streets.
If we go to the 3006 document, the 2017 document on page 12, there's a section in this that I'm trying to understand what it means in relation to the larger project. And it reads in about the fourth paragraph down, it says, past successes have shown to be more prominent when working with a larger, more resourceful vendor, while additional vendors can be considered during the audit and design phases of the project. If the customer has existing preferences or relationships, energy consumption and operational savings can be impacted negatively or positively by any deviations from the proposed system. What's the, sounds almost like a warning that you're offering. What is that about? Can you explain what you mean by that?
That statement doesn't particularly apply to the city of Quincy, but we've come into other cities or towns that say, we really like brand X. We want you to use that fixture. So this refers to the manufacturer of the lights themselves. And in places where they've said, well, we really want you to use this fixture. In some cases, it's more expensive, might not have the energy savings that another fixture has. So we're just kind of cautioning, if you have a favorite, it might help to have us objectively give you some pros and cons.
So are you putting forward then a list of recommendations as to those vendors?
Yes, and that's the fixture that's in the pay item schedule. We came to that conclusion working with the city, and we put up some test fixtures as well to make sure that it's acceptable.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Walker, is it the intention of the city to basically go with those, or there's no other relationships or existing preferences? You're basically going with what they're reporting in the context of their engineering.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, through you, refer that question to Mr. Coffey, who's on top of this, the mayor's office, if that's okay with you, Council.
Please. Thank you, Councilman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Council Penn. Council, we are taking the recommendations of Siemens. Many of the respondents to the RFP ended up recommending the same two pieces of equipment, which the brand that Siemens recommended, Siemens recommended probably from a price and quality perspective.
And if there's any vendors coming in, it's going to be part of the process to refer this back to Siemens?
No, the decision was made. We selected the equipment. I think what that reference is, if we had a preference on our own, that we like this vendor from Clement, or something that can use that manufacturer, they would look at that for us and say, here's the pros of that manufacturer, here's the cons, may cost you more or less.
Well, I think you've answered what I was really trying to establish was that you've already made those commitments and decisions. You're not choosing separately.
Correct.
Other than what's been
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey. Well, actually, while you're still here, they also recommend on page 13, related to the operational cost savings and capital account, to gradually fund the scheduled life cycle replacement of light poles, brackets, and fixtures. Has there been any discussion? Because again, whenever we do one of these so-called cost savings kinds of components, the idea of actually recovering those costs or utilizing those can be difficult. Is there any plan on creating such an account moving forward?
No, we haven't yet, but I do think that's something we should do. The lifespan of this project is about 25 years, give or take a couple of years for these things that go as lights. And, as a matter of fact, I just did some math today, and I assumed a 4% annual energy cost increase, from national or whatever policy, which is generally ranging between 3 and 5%, although most of my life. And the savings to the city after we paid the $2.5 million cost is $15.1 million over 25 years.
This is in reference to this?
So we invest $2.5 million in over 25 years. If you assume 4% energy cost increases, the city saves $15.1 million after paying for the project.
So wouldn't it make sense then to create that account in order to pass some of those savings along to the taxpayer?
And I think that's something we should consider going forward, because at the end of 25 years, we'll want to replace it, or some other costs going forward. And if we have these types of savings, which by the way are guaranteed for the first 10 years, if we have these types of savings, we should be planning for down the road. We'll have to replace the arms, some lights, and so forth. Right now, with the 10-year product warranty and service warranty, we're still responsible for storm comes and not so like that. We've got to rebuild that. So if we have an equipment failure at all, it's serious problem for both the product and for the labor.
And now the data collection and the metrics that you're employing here, Siemens is also engaged in relation to calculating that specifically as it relates to the contract, or is it?
Well, they are in National Grid. National
kilowatt
Grid.
hours.
Yeah, National Grid. In fact, I found a. I'd like to direct you to another section that Shelley Dane put together for us, the energy director, which really kind of explains where the real savings come from this, which is energy savings. And we have unmetered lights within the city, so we don't have a meter on each light. So National Grid assumes that for a 400-watt HPS or traditional bulb, they're going to bill us 1,962 kilowatts per year. They also assume that when we put an LED, 200-watt LED in there, they're now only going to bill us 730 kilowatts. So there's a 63% savings. That's guaranteed.
Right.
And if for some reason, and it's really a math reason, for some reason it was wrong, then these guys oversee it. They've done, I think, 76 or 86 of these across the country. They've yet to give any money back. So it's I think you said this gets very complicated, and it does when you get into some of the details, and how we're going to go about making this happen. But the math at the other end is really really simple. It's all calculated by National Grid and on estimates. So unless they gave us the wrong estimate, this is
Right. Well, you're still here. I guess this is the best place. But this also had made, and again, one of my colleagues said, if you handed this out on the 6th, I apologize, because I might have gotten my attention deficit kicking in again. If that was part of that packet, I didn't recall having it. But anyway, it's very informative. But one of the things it talks about, there's a section as it relates specifically to asset management, and it talks about the whole concept of real-time monitoring in relation to that.
Yeah.
Now, that would actually boost the cost.
That would boost the cost by about $700,000
Right.
to the real-time monitoring. And it would also, at some point in the future, maybe give us some ability to go with some Wi-Fi types of networks. So it's something good that we may want to look at in the future. And we plan for that in the, not plugs, what are we putting those 7-pin connectors. Each light that they put in is going to have a 7-pin connector on it. That's what's needed to make that real-time monitoring happen, and Wi-Fi and other things. We're not there yet. There's other costs associated with that real-time monitoring. We'd have to add people. And our real-time monitoring is pretty good. We get a call immediately when the light is up. So it works pretty well now, but
That's our real-time monitoring.
it's pretty quick. But yet, at the same time, we don't know what else is coming down the road, so we're planning for that with the 7-pin connectors.
Again, if that doesn't change the calculated savings in any way, though.
No, because we did not include the cost of that. No. If we decided to go with some Wi-Fi networks, if the technology got to the point where it was beneficial, And if we decided to go with the real-time monitoring, then we have to put some wireless devices out there. And the cost right now, if we bought all of those, would be about $700,000. So we couldn't really see any benefit. It would also allow you, though, to dim lights remotely, which, and there could be some, some benefit to that down the road as well. However, the tariffs are written by National Grid right now, that if I dim it from a 200-watt bulb to a 100-watt bulb, they will not pass that savings on.
That would affect the kilowatt hours if you did it, is that what-
Except the tariff doesn't allow for it.
Okay.
So they would still charge at the higher rate.
Right, because they're at a fix.
Yes.
We're not.
So at some point, if down the road, if they say, hey, we'll go to a tier type of structure with flexible type billing based upon dimming, then that's something they want to consider. If the savings of that.
Well, again, this is a type of financing for making capital improvements that I think is very, very good, but I really, at the same time, strongly urge thinking about ways of creating those capital accounts moving forward, because that would eventually be our way of recovering that cost and making certain that this isn't something that's being carried on the back of taxpayers, so.
I think that's a great idea, and I could prevail upon the order, and I could sit and just toss that around and see how they do that. At some point, we're going to want to replace these down the road as they were out 20, 25, 27, 30 years from now as well.
And I trust since we have these metrics, that you'll be coming back to really update this body as it relates to.
Well, yeah, I can touch on something I'm sure will come up too, is when these savings actually kick in for the city. And unfortunately, we can't wait for warrants. It's about a year. The installation, if we get to go ahead and you folks in the next couple of weeks, the installation will probably take us through to late December, early January.
Right.
And we have kind of a drop dead date in January. We start to lose some of the benefits we don't move forward by then. But once we do the January, then Siemens has to do some documentation, pass that over to National Grid. National Grid has to review that documentation, which basically says that every one of these 6,500 lights has been converted. They're converted with this LED wattage, and the work is done. Then once they review all of that, they match that up against what we've given them already, which is the audit. And then they actually come out here, and they do an audit and check the lights to make sure we've done what we've told them. Once they do that, we all agree, National Grid, Siemens, the city, and TransCanada, our power supplier, get together. We put together a plan to convert, I think, 220 billion accounts to the new lower rate. The unfortunate thing is that took about 2.5 years when we bought streetlights. And I think largely because it was new for National Grid, they didn't have a process in place. They say that once we start that, we can complete that in 4 to 6 months, which really brings us out to sometime between August and September of 2018. That's when we should be looking at the savings. The good news is the savings will be retroactive, I think, till the time we finish our installation clip, which will probably be December, January timeframe. So it's going to be another fiscal year before we see the beneficial hit to the budget. But Eddie Brennan, who works for me, who may or may not be here tonight, there he is in the back. He's going to be helping out. This is my administrative assistant, and he's going to be controlling the entire building process with us. So we're going to stay on top of that and make sure that we can come back, a year from now. Yeah, probably about a year. I don't know, a year and a half from now, and really go over where we are, what happened, and how much we see coming back to the city. And if it's not $424,000 or the energy savings out there, then once again, Siemens will be making a difference, and we don't expect that.
And what you indicated earlier, that you've yet to have that happen, is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
And how many communities again?
We have converted about 50 in Massachusetts. Of those 50 communities, I think 35 were done by performance contracts, so we had the guarantee as part of it. 35 guarantees met.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Bowman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Clint, I think I'm going to ask you a few questions to resume the conversation from a month ago, March 6th. Just to elaborate real quick on getting back to the conversation we had prior, So the 6,500, LED fixtures, of a spot check out there, maybe Mr. Coffey can help you as well, as, are there any broken out there right now that aren't working at all? And are you going to be able to replace those as well with the 6,500? Is that part of your proposed cost for this?
Yes, of the 6,500, it's a full fixture replacement for all of them. So if the fixture itself is damaged or if the bulb burned out, the whole thing gets replaced. The part of, we talked about doing an audit earlier, that audit was done during the day so that they can get the wattage sticker, and there's things about the fixture that they're trying to record. But because it was done during the day, we don't have information as to right now exactly what's out and what's working. And the city continues a maintenance contract for those calls that residents put in. And we will be coordinating with the city to make sure, to try to minimize, we're changing out a fixture that next week Siemens is replacing. So we're going to try to minimize those overlaps as well once we get going with construction.
So we can tell some of the viewers and people out there that if it's down right now, you're going to come in to probably fix it very soon.
Yes,
It's appropriated correctly.
correct.
Now, of these big city, through big city items that you did through the state of Massachusetts, did you do Boston? Did you do Worcester? Did you do Cambridge, New Bedford, Fall River, did you do those cities?
No, Boston did the project themselves. They used the city crews to do the installations. Of the ones you mentioned, we did New Bedford.
New Bedford.
That was our project.
And how many street lights or LED lighting did you do there?
I believe it's close to 10,000.
10,000. And of those 10,000, do you have a spot check that now, once you're finished under the warranty, have they called back for anything, or what do you think?
Quincy, the contract was slightly different. We owned all of the maintenance for 1 year post-installation, and that ended 3-4 months ago, around there.
So,
And at the end of that 1 year, the city took over maintenance because the fixtures themselves still had about 8 to 9 years of product warranty on them. So in New Bedford's case, they have city crews. If they have an outage, they call the manufacturer sends them a new fixture.
so on the warranty, just to elaborate, what's the warranty for us right now?
The city here in Quincy, it has a full parts and labor warranty for 10 years. So in this case, Siemens will be responsible for replacing failed fixtures under the warranty.
Okay, if let's just say a kid goes up and throws a rock up there and it hits it and breaks it, do you fix it?
Typically, that's not a warranty, but we have provisions for like a time and materials basis to be compensated for something that's not a warranty, because in general, when a resident calls, they have no idea why the light's out. Either does our electrician till they get there. So there usually is a provision for being compensated for something that didn't fail because of the warranty issue.
Sure, so that was basically, like,
If I may, I could add to that, too, as part of the contract, Siemens is also training our electricians to perform those same tasks. So we
okay.
have bucket trucks, right now, we have 2 bucket trucks, and we're gonna train our electricians to do some of those manual. So our intention is eventually we'll do all of that ourselves, once, they're through the 10-year maintenance.
And it's a 3.6, asking 3.624, and we're gonna bond this over, if we appropriate 10 years, and is it 2.6?
It's about 3.6 will be the bonding, much like the MSBA,
Sure.
the school buildings get the bond for the full amount, and then we're getting grants back from NGRID to the tune of $6,700,000. Also a grant from the State Department of Energy Resources as well for $450,000. So the total amount is going to end at 2.56 million for the city. Well, less, because we have a $300,000 contingency too. So, which I don't think we're close to very.
So we're taking advantage of grants, yeah?
Yeah, so another important point to that, I failed to mention before, is we're not using Siemens contract. We're using the State Department of Energy Resources contract template, where they've used it all around the state already. So it's kind of a tried and proven contract that really protects the city. If it leads in any direction, it uses extension. It's vetted by them, it was built by them. As a matter of fact, as part of that measurement verification process, Constable, that you mentioned, we have to report back to the DOER with Siemens at the end of this project as well, every year for the next 10 years, to show that we are generating savings as well. So it's a fairly firm and rigid contract. There's been no complaints over here, which is kind of a good sign that they know it's going to be.
Well, I like the savings, I like the warranty, I like the fact that, and you're looking and piggybacking on grant money, which is important. And when I look at this, I don't look at it as an expense, I look at it as an investment for the city. I think to be honest with you, we were a little behind. We probably should have did this a few years ago sometime. But we're here at the table now, we're looking to approve this. So I'll be in full support for this allocation.
And for investment of $2.5 million, I'd be hard pressed anywhere to find $15 million short. If I could get something like that, my private life, take a couple of zeros off of it, but something like that, we jump in. It's just that I think investments like these are probably few and far between. I haven't seen anything, like this. Maybe you guys have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Council. Council LaForest.
Thank you, Chairman Crowe. Through you, probably to Mr. Coffey. Mike, just a couple questions on the timeline of this project. So we're approving this tonight. What is the game plan for the rollout?
I'm sorry, what's the game plan?
What's the game plan for the rollout? Where are we going to start in the city? When are we going to see the
Well,
technology change over?
If we get approval at the next council meeting, if it comes out tonight, then we'll
Yeah.
get approval at the next council meeting. We'll be meeting with these guys. We've just about finalized the contract right now anyways. Once again, it's kind of cut and dry because of the DOER template. The purchasing director, Catherine Hovick, can contract, and I think we're probably going to get these guys going a few days or a week or two after we get council approval.
So let's
There's
say
about-
mid-May.
Yeah, well, we're actually going to start some of the project probably in May. There's a 1 to 2 month ordering period for the vast majority of the equipment, but they'll be ordering that. And I think we'll be out in the streets everywhere within the city, probably by late May, late June, somewhere around there.
Yes.
And what's the time frame to complete?
Time
citywide?
frame will
We're
be-
starting in Quincy Center, working our way to the neighborhoods, starting in the north end, working south. What should people expect?
Yeah, well, I don't think we haven't started where we haven't designated where we're going to start.
But
So we're gonna have to
timeline
look at that.
to convert 6,500 lights, what's the time frame?
It's about 6 to 7 months, so that'll bring us to the end of December.
And I saw you're up against a year-end DOER.
Well, we got a $10,000 bonus that we didn't talk about here if we finish it by December 31st from the DOER, from some promotional program we went to. So we want to get the 10,000. An additional point too, as far as implementation goes, is right now we're paying, this week and next week, Coviello, our contractor, to replace lights that are blown out. We get 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 a weekend right now, lights that have to be replaced. We want to stop that as soon as we can, so we're slowing that down a little bit now. And what Siemens agreed to do is if we have them working down in Howes Neck, on a Monday or Tuesday, and if I call them and say, hey, I got 2 lights out in West Quincy and another 3 in Quincy Point, can you send the crew there on the way home? They'll stop by there and replace those 5 or 6 lights for us, but they have to replace them anyways. So they've agreed to do some hopscotching for us around the city. We don't want to make it too big, but we'll see if that'll help us out rather than putting old money into new money against old technology.
And one, I think that it's been great with having a contractor kind of in Quincy on, I think it's Wednesdays, Katie gets the call, and we've really seen a substantial improvement in our response time, but within the week we're getting out prepared. So as we go forward, once these are all installed, it's going to be Siemens or city workers doing the maintenance?
It'll be Siemens doing the maintenance. If we have something that's not covered by the maintenance warranty, such as a rock thrown by some kid when he, for some reason,
No, is that kid?
or a storm takes a pole down or throws a branch down and knocks the light down, that's the city's responsibility. I think we can handle it. We don't expect a lot of them. If we need additional support, we would call a Coviello or someone else or a Siemens to come in and help out as well.
I will say, what an improvement in this contract to the last energy efficient savings Honeywell contract of yore. It's great to have a DOER on the template, purchasing department. There's no surprise maintenance contract. We're really talking about everything up front. Some of the other things, and Mike, maybe you can speak to this, it talked about the audit in advance of that was done for the equipment. And I know for myself, the questions that always come in, well, what's the pole number? I don't know. I wrote down the address where the street light's at. did they integrate their audit into the online GIS system that's used by all of our city staff?
Yeah, they have not yet, but they will.
They will be
They
doing
collected
that.
it in a format that could be integrated.
Okay, I would like to see that happen. I
Oh,
know
we
that's
would.
great, you know, good that they audited it, but if we could integrate it, our GIS has such great important data for the city of Quincy. Secondly, my other thing was on the wireless controls, the traffic signalization. Did we end up incorporating that with the contract?
No, we did not.
We did not, but
Well,
that's
we
an
did- what we
add-on
did do
down
is
the
We
line.
are replacing some of the traffic signal lights, the bulbs, with new LEDs. that
Okay, so
are
it's just the
included.
traffic signal lights are being replaced. However, we are still a long way as far as technology, and, you know, I agree with Councilor Devon, it's time for the city to modernize as far as our traffic infrastructure. You know, you and I have had this conversation many times about the ability to remotely know what lights are out versus we're relying heavily on constituent calls or counselor calls or, you know, our own field team saying, hey, the streetlights are calling it in versus our water software where we can call ahead and ask the constituent if they're filling a pool if they have a leak, and we're able to get some savings and efficiencies that way. So at this point, that isn't something that we incorporated.
No.
Okay.
And we would, if we went with the traffic management signaling system, where we could do some of this remote management, identification of problems, you know, it wouldn't be part and parcel of this as well. It would probably be different wireless type technology.
Well, I hope that as a TPAL, I would really like to see something that I feel, you know, the capital improvement plan we have coming forward, I really feel the traffic signalization is quite antiquated, so I was looking for some creativity. And then secondly, the other add-ons that we had talked about was an opportunity for some Wi-Fi public hotspots, and is that did not at this time get incorporated, but we're
It did not,
installing
but we
some
did put the
technology.
foundation into the contract with these 7 connectors that, and we actually have, I think there was a vendor or two that may reapproach us in a few months saying, hey, once you're up and running, you know, maybe we can do a trial outside here or somewhere else and see what it works. There's pros and cons to it, you know, we've heard up and down, but we won't be locked out of moving in that direction, which I think is important.
Someday, okay. So I guess I just would request then that when the annual report's filed with DOER, this council be updated
Yes.
relative to your findings. I think that's important that we're tracking this. You know, we've had some lessons learned from our past contracts. It has a great reputation. I think this is a great project for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Forrest. Council Leeang.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Coffey. Just 2 questions for you. So the first is, would you be able to say on average what the current cost is to fix a street light that's broken in the city? So you get a phone call, you go through the motions, you go out and you repair it. What's the average cost to that on a current street light versus what the new ones are going to be?
Boy, I'm embarrassed to say I don't even know. I'm thinking several $100, Al, just for...
It's $1. Through you, Mr. Chairman. I believe the contract with Corviello is $1 a fixture, and I think it's $150 hourly rate
Currently?
currently.
What would the new one be? What would the new one be? With the new street lights, what would the cost be?
Well, the new street lights for 10 years, there'd be no cost. If there's a product failure or a bulb failure, or a failure of workmanship, if a bulb was not installed correctly, they own it, no cost to us.
No, but if that weren't the case, if there was an act of God, that's not covered under warranty, correct?
Then there would be an hourly cost. If Siemens did it, would you have any idea what it cost? I mean, it would be an hourly rate of some sort. It would cost the cost of the bulb.
Yeah, I think the 150 is probably very competitive across the board for an electrician with a bucket truck.
So are we saying that it's going to be
And that-
looking at the same amount of cost to the city if we had to replace the current ones?
For non-warranty calls, yes, storms, vandalism, what have you.
Okay, and then would it still be about $1 a bulb or less?
Well, currently, I think the way the maintenance contract works is that's a fixed fee that you pay per month, so it's $6,000, so it's about $6,000 a month for, do I have that wrong? Okay, I better get some help.
Excuse me. Just a fixed fee of $1 a light, but if they charge us the hourly rate.
Okay.
So under the new contract, it would be, because it's under warranty, it's no charge to the city. It would be on Siemens if the light broke because of, for whatever reason. Unless it was truck hit the light, someone threw a rock, and then we, as a city, would be responsible for that. But some of that work we will be able to do ourselves, T-PAL department with their own bucket trucks. So eventually, that will all come under T-PAL.
Okay, I was just trying to get an idea of what any other sort of added costs or savings we're looking at. Obviously, maintenance is one of them. When you're talking about, product costs and analyze how's that with the warranty. Thank you. The last question I have for you was, on the payment schedule, the project cost summary, the one sheet, it gives us the item type and the description, quantities, the cost per unit, and then the total brings us to 3.3 million. There's 19 different items there, the descriptions are all codes, and then the quantities and units. The unit price ranges from 320 up to, I think the highest on here is 1765. So are we looking at 18 different types of lights that we're putting out, or are we looking at 18 different pieces that we're ordering? Because this is, the quantity on this all adds up to 6,500. So I'm just trying to get an idea of why the range is possible.
The schedule that you're looking at is 19 different types of light fixtures. These are all one unit that replaces what's there today. The ones on the lower cost side are the Cobra head style lights, and the higher priced ones are decorative type fixtures like the ones outside the window here downtown.
Okay, and how did you guys determine which ones would go where? Because again, some of the quantities, the lowest unit price is the most that we're ordering, but then you have some that, for example, I'm just throwing it out there, there's maybe 4 that we're ordering at $860 a piece. So how do you guys determine across the city what kind of lights we're going where?
By matching exactly what's there today.
Okay, so it's just a good do.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Pleasure, Council. Any further questions regarding the LED lights? Will we have everyone from the team? Seeing none. Ready? Can I see a motion? Motion by Councilor Harris to move the proposal.
Purchase appropriation of 31624. So positive recommendation.
All those in favor?
On the motion,
Councilor Palmucci?
just briefly on the motion. I appreciate the request. I appreciate all the work that you guys have done. I know Al's been working on this for a long time, and I think I have the utmost confidence in Siemens. I would simply suggest that as we're contemplating these large expenditures, that this is something that would be better moved to the end of the line in terms of what's before us in expenditures, the capital improvement plan that we're going to get into tonight, and the plan for the parks. If this was on its own, I think it would be an easier vote for me to take. We were just talking about $3.6 million for the streetlight overhaul, but it's hard to look at these things in a vacuum and look at this without looking at the additional, $50 million. And if you stretch it out over the 5-year schedule, the purports to be a potentially $100 million expense. So I think every bit matters. But if this was our big expense for the year, our big capital outlay for the year, I would be viewing it very differently than I am viewing it now. I think that, I don't hear anybody saying to me that we need to upgrade the streetlights constituent-wise. No one says we need to go to LED, Brian. That's my main issue this year. It's paving roads, it's traffic right now. Those are the top concerns that I hear, and my vote will reflect that. I think we would be better served by putting this to the back end of the consideration of capital outlays. There's a lot of requests here, not just this particular item, but in total, and I think we'd be better served to have either done this previously or to put it at the end of the larger expenses and capital outlays that we're being asked to vote on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council. There is a motion on the floor. Council Kane on the motion.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. On the motion, I agree with my colleague. I think it is very difficult to look at. This is nothing against the work that you guys have done. I think this is a good project, though, in particular because there is a realized cost savings over the life of the entire project. So I'd be much more inclined to support this, especially if we're going to take measures, whether tonight initially or in the immediate future at our next council meeting, so that we can establish this fund so that we can start putting those savings immediately into a place that they can be used for other reasons, other capital expenditures going down the line. I totally concur though with Councilor Mucci. I think that, you know, this is, I mean, we've been talking about this a little bit longer than the rest. This is seemingly outside of the capital improvement plan, which I don't even think is really on the agenda tonight. But I am inclined to support it because of the cost savings that we're going to realize over the 25 years. If we're going to see $15 million of savings, that's actual stuff that we can put to good use, like streets and sidewalks, which are the things that I hear the same as you, people are actually seeking to have improved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council. Any further discussion on the motion? That being said, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council King.
Yes.
Council DeBona.
Yes.
Council Finn.
Yes.
Council Harris.
Yes.
Council Hughes. Yes. Council LaFarge.
Yes.
Council Leon.
Yes.
Council Calhoun.
No.
Council Chair.
Yes. 8-1, the motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, folks. The next sort of sequence in the meeting is the opportunity to take public comment on the appropriation for the proposal that is before us, which is Council Order 2017-050 appropriation, $27 million in hotel motel tax for park improvements. With the consent of the body, I would like to, for the public, I appreciate coming out here this evening, an opportunity to share their thoughts at the microphone.
So just a question, will there be a presentation prior to you allowing folks to come up and make a presentation, or come up and speak, or will you be doing public comments first?
It's public comments, so essentially the presentation was made at the last city council meeting.
Right.
Overall.
Do we have people here to make any presentation to discuss? Or
We do.
is this
Yep, we do. Yep,
So will that be first, or?
that'll be second.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is the overall comment or sentiment as it relates to the plan of large.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So with the consent of the body, I would like to open it up for the public comment period. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, just, I know there's a lot of people here this evening. I want to allow you an opportunity to kind of voice your thoughts. We'll keep this to 2 to 3 minutes. The very skilled clerk of committees will be kind of helping me to keep that in line. So when 2 minutes is up, I'll kind of give you a wave. That'll give you about another minute or so. But we want to stay organized, give everyone an opportunity to speak, and then obviously we'll have some deliberation later on. So if you'd like to speak here this evening, I would invite you to form a line and such, and approach the microphone, please. And state your name and your address. And for those folks who are here supporting or not supporting whatever's on the agenda here this evening, there are sign-in sheets in the back, so you'll be able to kind of sign your name and your address, and obviously whichever manner you're hoping to voice your sentiment. So, not everyone's keen on coming to the microphone, but there's an opportunity to weigh in down the back. So, anybody? Good evening. Could you please state your name and address?
Good evening. My name is Linda Sutherland. I'm a Quincy resident and have been so for more than 30 years. I am a volunteer at the Quincy Animal Shelter. I also am a dog owner, but if you were to ask my dog, she owns me. I wanted to say a few words about why I feel the addition of a dog park to the city would be beneficial on many levels. First of all, exercise is essential for the physical health of dogs. But what many owners don't realize is that exercise is just as important to their dog's mental health as well. Taking a dog to a dog park allows him or her to burn off all of his or her pent-up energy. After all, dogs are instinctually designed to run, play, and chances are pretty good that the local dog park offers more than just the open space than what's in someone's backyard. Dog parks are also good for dog owners. Dog owners get to enjoy the exercise, social benefits off at these parks, and there's also plenty of opportunity for learning at dog parks. Going to a dog park could provide excellent resources for experienced dog owners, for inexperienced dog owners to learn from those who are experienced. Parks usually have amenities available for people such as benches to sit in the shade, relax, and enjoy the outdoors with your four-legged friend, and getting to know other dog owners. The love people share with their dogs reaches beyond economic and social barriers and helps foster a sense of community. It makes for a better community by promoting public health and safety. Well-exercised dogs are better neighbors and who are less likely to create a nuisance. Bark excessively, or they won't be barking excessively or destroying others' property. Their presence in the park, along with their owners, may also deter crime. Finally, a dog park is more than just room to roam. It allows dogs to exercise socially, safely, promotes responsible dog ownership. Dog parks prevent off-leash animals from infringing on the rights of others and community residents, and park users such as joggers, small dogs, and children, those who might be fearful of dogs, won't have to deal with it. Parks also make it easier for the city to enforce their leash laws. As a taxpayer, I'm in favor of building a dog park in my city. I hope you all see the many benefits of this enhancement and agree that we should support the city's proposal. Thank you.
Linda, your address for the record, please.
12 Hodgkinson Street.
Thank you very much. Next question. If you wouldn't mind, if we could maybe form a small line just so folks can in and out, that would be great.
Hi, my name is Sandra, and I'm a Quincy resident. I live in Newbury out in North Quincy, and I wanted to speak in favor of a new animal shelter and dog park, and I've just jotted down some notes and I'll keep it brief. There is one park near me on the corner of Atlantic and North Streets. This was said to have been left to the city by a doctor who claimed to have created or invented the Boston Terrier breed. His intent for this land after he passed away was for the city to use it for a dog park. People do use it for that purpose on a daily basis, but it really isn't designed for safety. It's a small plot containing one bench and 3 non-secure units. At one time, there was a sign there bearing this doctor's name, but it's no longer there. The park grounds are maintained by the city, but there are no rules or regulations about its use posted. Okay, aside from this parcel of land, this non-specific parcel, I don't know of any parks strictly designated for use by dogs in the city. This causes people to steal time at ball fields, in children's playgrounds, and on the beaches during off hours. Doing so poses safety issues for the dogs and owners and can lead to conditional problems on the fields and beaches when they are used for their designated purposes. A park just for dogs would be a wonderful thing. Exercise and social interaction are both essential components of a dog's physical and emotional well-being. If more dogs and owners had the opportunity to enjoy such a place, I believe there would be much less surrendering. As for the idea of the shelter, it has been around for longer than I have. The only thing that has changed in half a century is the color of the building. We are long overdue for a new and improved one. The infrastructure is bursting out of the physical structure, and I think we would be doing the right thing on behalf of the staff members and volunteers if we were to take advantage of an opportunity to expand. They do amazing things and they're outgrowing everything. They are current on social media. They hold fundraising events generally off-site because of a lack of space, and they work wonderfully with the animals. The shelter is overcrowded, the washers and dryers are running continuously, and the grounds used for exercising the animals are in poor condition. During visiting hours, people can only walk in one direction at a time along a narrow pathway between the dog cages. The cages used to house the dogs are cold, bare, and hard. A state-of-the-art facility would attract more visitors and potential adopters, and in the meantime, keep the animals who are already distressed in a much more comfortable environment. It would also make coming to the shelter more of an experience for individuals. As for the idea of placing a dog park next to the new shelter, I think it would make for a great marriage. While we have the opportunity to do a wonderful thing for our community, I think we should take advantage of it. Lastly, I'll leave you with a quote from Gandhi. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Hi, good evening.
Hi. My name is Kit Burke. I have been a resident of Quincy for the last 20 years and reside in Ward 4. I'm also a dog owner. Just have a couple of bullet points I'd like to mention. The proposed location of the dog park and animal shelter is on land that the city already owns, and this would give us an opportunity to have ample parking off of Quarry Street for people going to the dog park. Dogs are pack animals who generally like to interact socially with each other. 20 minutes, even 15 minutes of dog-to-dog interaction will just far exceed anything that we as dog owners could ever do walking on a path with a dog on a leash. I believe it would greatly diminish the presence of off-leash dogs in the other parks within the city, which I know has been a concern for residents. And with a lot of the new condos being built, they are allowing pets now. I think it is evidence of increased dog ownership. In a city with 100,000 people, we require some measures to be taken to provide a safe place to take your dogs. It will provide a social environment for dog owners to meet and interact as well as the dogs. And typically, the responsible dog owners help police the area in terms of getting after the less responsible owners, if you will. I've also been with the Quincy Animal Shelter since 2000, currently working as the shelter director. I would like to invite the counselors as well as members of the public to stop down and see us, learn what we do, and see why we really need a new shelter. Thank you.
Thank you, Kit.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Delisle, and I live at 14 Nevada Road in Quincy Point, and I am also the acting president of the Ward 2 Civic Association. On March 9, 2016, the Ward 2 Civic Association hosted a community meeting in which the final plans for renovations to the Fall River Field were presented to the residents of Ward 2. That included the much-needed improvements to the baseball diamond and basketball courts, which after some delays are finally expected to be completed this spring. It also included, in the master plan, a brand new playground, which after conversations with the community, was announced to be the first fully inclusive playground in the city of Quincy. On June 23, 2016, the Ward 2 Civic Association held a fundraiser in which over $30,000 was raised in one night to pay for the rubber flooring needed to make this playground fully accessible to all. Fast forward to about a month ago on March 15th, during our most recent Civic Association meeting that was open to the community, the Parks Director was invited to give an update on the Fall River Field project. When asked for a status report on the playground, our community, our association, and our counselor were publicly surprised to find out that the playground was not slated for funding as part of the current scope of the project, and that funding would be requested through a bond bill. Well, tonight we're here to discuss this bond bill, and from what we can see, Quincy's first inclusive playground at Fall River Field has not been slated for funding. As an association, we are extremely disappointed to see that this project is not a part of the current bond bill. We have advocated for this project tirelessly by raising private funds and hosting community meetings to give the city the opportunity to communicate with its residents. As an immediate abutter, I can personally tell you that this playground is heavily used by the community itself, as well as many children that participate in youth sports at that park. Sadly, the most affected by this decision will be the families that, as one of our members say, just want their kids to be able to play alongside their peers and for once not feel different. I ask that the city simply finish what they started and complete the full project of the Fall River Field. Our community wants it, our children need it, and it's simply the best thing to do. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is George Mays. I'm 588 South Street. I'm a lifelong resident of Quincy for the past 46 years. I'm also here for the playground. We've raised the funds for it to upgrade it. We've all thought it was going to be done. We thought the equipment was purchased last year and it wasn't. If you guys can take it into consideration to get this project done. We've got kids that leave the city to go to fully accessible playgrounds and they can't come to the city this size to get it done. So if we could take that into consideration, we'd appreciate it.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Just through you, that you would know better than the rest of us, the project that the last two folks have talked about, the all-inclusive, that's not all-inclusive playground, not included in the parks bond?
Correct.
So they're asking that it be added to the expenditure. I think it probably makes sense to point out that funding cannot begin with the council, it has to begin with the mayor. We can approve things, or we cannot approve things, send a message, but we cannot add in monies that isn't already being requested.
Correct. And I don't want to speak for anyone, but I was in that meeting along with Council DeBona. And I think the frustration was that we were told that A, that happened, and then B, you'd see something in the park that way, which you'll hear about for every day, but I don't see anything for the playground. So people that I represent, and as you know, I think you were part of that project as well, fundraising effort, there's some frustration. So
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
point of clarity, well taken.
We can't add in an extra $800 million, whatever it is. We can't add it in no matter whether or not we think it's the best and highest use of the site or it's the biggest priority in the city. We don't have that ability. I just think it's important for folks to know that. By the way, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, City Council. My name is Kevin Esdale. I reside at 86 Woodcliff Road, Ward 4. I'm up here today to speak in favor of the proposal. I have the honor of serving on the Park and Recreation Board for the city. I also have the privilege for the last 6 years being a member of the Quincy Soccer Board of Directors and the president. And I see on a week-to-week, on a night-to-night basis, what open space and green space means to the city of Quincy and its residents. Most people think of parks as places to play a game or throw a ball around or kick a ball, but the reality is these are meeting places for our community. And they're vitally important to the health of the community. And when I see that every night, I realize that. The one thing I want to just beg the council to do is, as we see the amount of building that's going on around the city, just to make sure that the ratio of open spaces to building is kept the same. Because again, as we grow, these spaces are vital to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Chairman, councilors. My name is John McNeil. I live in Ward 1, 59 Broadway Street, some of the properties in the city. But I'm here representing several youth sports organizations. I'm on the board for Quincy lacrosse, Quincy football, also Quincy hockey. Doesn't require any parks, but I'm here to generally speak on behalf of the kids, right? So the parks, you want the kids to stay off the phones and out of the, off the video games. You need to build the places for them to go. Echo Kevin's comments and sentiments about community. It's more than just a football field or a baseball field. It's a place to go. So I'd like you to consider the numbers. Lacrosse has grown to over 300. There's 2,000 kids in soccer. There's 1,000 kids in football. There's 1,000 kids in baseball. The city's expanding with all the development. And I think you really need to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, John.